Welcome to Passion. I'm your host, Britt Ivy, and today with us we have from Toastmasters International two gentlemen, Mr. Scott Fraser and Mr. Daniel Flood. Welcome, gentlemen, to Passion.
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
Wonderful. I am so glad you guys are here. We have a fun show in store for our audience. We have some amazing clips from some competitions, and I'm very excited to talk about how Toastmasters began, what is involved for you, how your passion has fueled you to go forward in Toastmasters with your different goals, and how it can help our audience. It's an international club, and you two are very passionate about seeing that that is handled very well in Southern Oregon, but it's worldwide. So I'm going to begin by asking Daniel about Toastmasters formation by Mr. Ralph Smedley. I thought it was 1924, just found out from you it was a little earlier than that. So can you enlighten us?
Certainly. Back in 1903, Ralph Smedley was the program director for the YMCA in Bloomington, Illinois. He realized there was a need for young men to know how to speak properly in front of an audience. Business people that were just starting businesses didn't know how to do sales, didn't know how to present themselves in order to get funding, how to sell their product to a larger audience. So he developed a series of programs designed around being more comfortable and confident in speaking. These programs went through the YMCA on their temporary status and then ended. But they were very popular. Over the years, more clubs were started and they too went to the wayside when their needs were met. In 1924, they incorporated the organization as Toastmasters International.
So it's a corporation now?
It's incorporated, yes.
Perfect.
The term Toastmasters came from the person who normally presides over a public speaking forum, such as a group, a luncheon, a chamber meeting, something. The person that stood up was the Toastmaster, and that's perfectly appropriate for what we're trying to do. We're trying to develop Toastmasters, so we're going to call the organization Toastmasters.
Perfect, perfect. Well, how exciting that Ralph Smedley was the founder of YMCA.
No.
No, not the founder.
Not the Toastmasters.
Well, he founded Toastmasters, but wasn't he out of YMCA as a board member or something?
Yes.
Okay, got it. Well, that's exciting. So it began with similar values as the YMCA. Perfect. Now, how long have you been involved, Daniel?
Oh, on and off since 1983, but more specifically just in the last 6 years here in Southern Oregon. I started Toastmasters because I needed confidence speaking in front of other people. It's not something that you're naturally fairly comfortable with unless you've been doing it since childhood, and I had not. I wanted to expand my business skills, my speaking skills, my confidence, and it seemed like a natural fit. I finally found the club that really helped me develop that, which was the University Toastmasters Club in Ashland. That was in 2010. And I've been nonstop ever since and loving every minute of it.
Wonderful. Well, congratulations. I understand you have achieved the Distinguished Toastmaster Award, which is the highest award one can achieve in Toastmasters. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That was just this year, 2016,
That's right.
Correct? Fantastic. So in a few minutes, we're going to see a clip of an actual competition. I'll let our audience know when I first came to Toastmasters, you were a very important part of Toastmasters for me. I noticed right away that you were in a leadership position, and I found out that there are 2 tracks you can take in Toastmasters. One of those has a leadership manual. So in a moment, we'll also show our audience the manuals, the 2 imperative manuals when you begin Toastmasters, the Competent Communication Manual and the Competent Leadership Manual. And you are very evidently I should say, when one comes to a meeting, a person of leadership, and you find it to really feed you, I believe,
Yes.
you said, to inspire others.
Mm-hmm.
So we appreciate that.
My pleasure.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about how that works for you?
Certainly. Most people come to Toastmasters with the idea that they want to become a better speaker, and that's a perfect place to do that. You have an entire organization dedicated to helping support you and develop you as a speaker. At the same time, you are developing as a leader. If you are good at public speaking in your organization, the people around you will notice that and naturally push you to the front because you know how to talk in front of people and they don't want to. You become the default face of your organization because when other people see your organization, they see you. And so there's the leader of the organization because they know what they're talking about. They present well, they're confident, which are skills that you get from coming to Toastmasters. You develop your stage time at Toastmasters. You develop your leadership skills because you're pushed to the front in your organization. And Toastmasters realized that some time back, and they went, whoa, we're better than just public speaking. We're helping develop leadership. Let's develop a leadership track that actually focuses on how to be a better leader when our members are pushed to the front in their organizations. So we've developed strong evaluation skills out of that, better grammar skills, finding a way of getting rid of our ums and ahs so we actually know what we're talking about, or at least it seems like we know what we're talking about. Developing the ability to pause at critical moments, to emphasize what is important in our presentations, knowing when to tell someone, get off the stage, you've said enough, and helping them.
Yeah, we call that the hook in comedy, right? Give them the hook.
Or walking out and saying, thank you very much, shaking their hands, and getting them off the stage
Right.
so you can move on with your agenda.
Perfect. Well, thank you for describing that so beautifully. So when other people see your confidence, they would like to emulate that, and they move themselves forward as well. And I know that you've inspired other people to be braver as far as experimenting on stage, etc. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And you mentioned evaluation. So we are actually going to go to a clip of an evaluation that I had the privilege of giving very close to the beginning of when I joined Toastmasters. So that was a very fun day for me. Unexpected. I thought perhaps I would enter a contest in a couple years, and by circumstances which I like to say God chooses to remain anonymous is what you call coincidence. By a series of coincidences, I was, I guess, pushed to the front in that particular situation, and I'm so grateful I was. I would have waited instead of just having fun. It's a fun club. It's a fun adventure.
Absolutely.
So, absolutely. And then Scott will hear from you when we come back from this clip number 1. Okay? All right. Studio, please go to clip number 1.
That's it. Good idea.
Thank you, contest chair, fellow Toastmasters, judges, guests, and Tricia DeFelice. Tricia, you're a winner. Did we all want to see Tricia succeed? Yes. Winners do certain things. Winners create unity. Winners create a team. And Tricia created a team out of us by the end of her speech, getting us to ask ourselves questions, which she asked, empowering questions. Tricia took us together on a bit of a ride, from a 13-year-old with effective use of twiddling the hair, smacking the gum, walking along, you know. She acted the part. So that's another element of unity that winners use. Tricia also used an empowering question at the beginning, which was very effective, which was asking the question, why am I here? What am I doing here? And that creates unity as well. Winners create unity. We all ask ourselves at some point, what am I doing here? What am I doing in this room? What am I doing in Toastmasters? What am I doing in this town? What am I doing on this planet? So I felt very engaged by these questions. And I felt that I wanted to be a part of her journey. As she also pointed out, I'm constantly in awe of people that come together to seek excellence in their own lives. In this world of, don't tell me what you think, I don't want to know what you think, I don't need your feedback, defensiveness, etc. Here we are in a group of people that are seeking excellence in their lives. I love that, I love being a part of that. So, in the interest of time, the transition with the jacket as well, from the twiddling hair to the smacking gum of the 13-year-old and the phone, into the demonstration of the phone addiction was classic. The transition with the jacket to the adult was powerful for me. She did a lot of things right, and I appreciated that. Feedback. There is power in unity. As far as some helpful hints for future use, possibly eye contact as a 13-year-old would bring us into the space of being a 13-year-old. The eye contact was better in the second half of your speech, Tricia. 2, powerful to walk and talk and then plant and pause for the next line. You could have used the space in a bit of a more decisive way, including your gestures. The content was excellent. Thank you for providing a place for us to feel proud about what our goals are in life and what we're doing, and then for asking us, will you join me? Will you join me in this quest for excellence? Will you help make it a better place, Toastmasters World, what have you? I thank you so much, and congratulations. I look forward to seeing you in future speeches.
Judges, you are now able to complete your ballots, and when they are done, please hold them up for the ballot collectors to collect.
Well, that was fun. That was such a fun day for me. It was an adventure, and the audience could see Daniel at the end. You were emceeing the end of that contest, and we have another one coming up. So if you would get ready in the control room, please, to show the manuals. I'm going to turn to Scott here, and if you could show those manuals, I'll be speaking with Scott a little bit about his experience. So Scott, why did you join Toastmasters? What inspired you to join Toastmasters, and when did you join?
About 5 years ago, my wife and I were empty nesters and looking for something to do together that didn't involve our son, who wasn't there anymore. My wife was also starting a new business, and she wanted to have an opportunity to speak in front of people. She said, what better thing than Toastmasters? So we looked around. We found that there were 3 clubs in the Jackson County here. Mm-hmm. We settled on University Toastmasters. After a couple of years, we had advanced to the point where we had finished our initial manuals, and she had gotten what she needed out of Toastmasters. I found I really liked it. My first time speaking in front of people, I was scared to death. My palms were sweating. But it turned out to be fun. Yeah. And I got to the point where Daniel mentioned pausing. Turns out you don't just pause, you actually use the pauses to think ahead of what you're going to say next. Being able to tell your mouth, go do this, while you're thinking about what you're saying next, it's really a trip. And to see the people respond in the audience is just amazing. Now, 5 years later, I'm the area director. The area is, in this case, Jackson County. We have 3 clubs there. And I help the presidents and vice presidents of education in those clubs help their people in their clubs to be better speakers.
Fantastic, fantastic. What a fun thing to begin to do with your wife and get inspired that way and be supportive of her as she wanted to improve her speaking skills. And then she got what she needed and transitioned on, as many of our members do, and you were really lit up by the experience and decided that it was a passion of yours. And you like seeing the audience light up. A lot of the audience does light up when you speak, and we are going to go to a clip of you speaking in a few minutes, and we can experience that ourselves.
One thing I discovered that I needed was, it was fun, but at some point, what am I doing here? Mm-hmm. I need to have something to be passionate about. And I realized, oh, wait a minute, I'm passionate about science. I like science. And I found an inspiration in Neil deGrasse Tyson. Mm-hmm. I found him online, watching his videos, watching his presentations to audiences large and small about science. And I thought, I can do that. I like science. I've learned I like speaking. I can be that kind of a person.
Fantastic. Well, you competed with a speech about science that we're going to see here on this other clip in a moment. And your passion definitely translates. The audience, we can feel it when you speak about science. So that's exciting. And we always learn something when you're speaking as well. You have fun facts, and the Hubble telescope, you've spoken about that, and the Stanford Linear Accelerator, I believe you've spoken about.
Yeah.
Back in my old stomping grounds, yours as well, and actually yours too. All of us come by way of Northern California at some point. So I'm very excited that you're in Toastmasters. You were our president until recently as well.
Correct. As Daniel mentioned, the leadership track works on the small stuff. How do you conduct a meeting? How do you lead a club? How do you get other people to focus on a goal and get them moving in the direction of that goal and help them achieve their goals? And that's part of leadership. That's part of what we work with in Toastmasters.
Fantastic, fantastic. I've enjoyed every minute of it. You guys have been a big part of that. You bring a lot of joy and good leadership examples, so thank you for that. So we are going to see Scott Fraser. Scott, do you want to set up the clip we're about to show the audience for a moment?
All right. Toastmaster speeches tend to be 5 to 7 minutes long, most of them. This is about halfway through a competition speech that I gave recently. It is focused on science, counting the stars in the galaxy. It is also using not just my speaking ability, but also visual aids. And that was a big part of this. You'll see the visual aid, the video that I had off to the side as I'm giving my speech.
Perfect, perfect. Okay, studio, let's go to clip 2 with Mr. Scott Fraser.
But how many galaxies are there in the universe? In 1990, the Hubble Space Telescope was launched, named for astronomer Edwin Hubble, the first person to recognize that there are other galaxies besides our own. The Hubble Ultra Deep Field Experiment pointed this satellite at a single little spot in the sky. How big was that spot? Take out a pen. The ball in your ballpoint pen is 1 millimeter across. Tom, I can see that. Hold that out at arm's length. That is the size of the spot that the Hubble Space Telescope stared at. What did the Hubble see when it stared at that spot? At first, there was nothing. Every ground-based telescope that looked at that spot saw blackness, emptiness, not a thing. There were 2 guide stars nearby that were used to align the telescope. Your camera can take a picture in 1/1000th of a second. Ground-based telescopes can stare at the sky for 6, 8 hours before the sun comes up. Hubble stared at that little spot in the sky for 23 days. What did Hubble see when it stared at that little spot? This is what Hubble saw. Every single point of light in that picture is a galaxy. 15,000 galaxies in that one tiny little spot in the sky. Multiply that out, and we come up with 200 billion galaxies in the visible universe. Multiply that again by the number of stars in a galaxy, and we come up with the staggering number of 800 billion trillion stars in the universe. That is 10,000 times the number of grains of sand on all the beaches, on all the deserts, in all of the earth. These numbers are on the high side, but there are a range of estimates. Some say only 100 billion, then 800. But they are justified numbers. Remember, there are more planets per star than we ever expected. The Goldilocks zone is bigger than we ever expected. Life can live in more places than we ever expected. What were the odds that you chose? What are the odds of life developing on a planet? Even if the odds of life are 1 trillion to 1, that still leaves 800 billion planets. 800 billion planets with life. Ladies and gentlemen, whether it is frightening or not, and I think it is very, very exciting, no matter what the odds, we are definitely not alone.
I love it. What a great clip. Scott, well done.
Thank you very much.
That was fun to watch. And it's fun to hear the applause and the support of the folks in the meeting. I do want to mention that. That was an imperative part of me continuing to stay once I visited. You can visit and, not pay, just visit complimentary and take in different meetings and see what may work for you. And our guests are very welcome, free of charge. And the support, it almost feels like a bit of a family. The support of the members is a huge plus for the organization, and personally for myself and other people I've spoken with, really are encouraged by the camaraderie. It's a beautiful, safe environment, I like to say. It feels very safe place to grow and develop our skills. So, Daniel, once again to the slogan, where leaders are made, which Toastmasters helps make leaders. Tell the audience a little bit about how we strive to help others find their voice, find their confidence, and how communication really is an art form.
If you think about art in the terms of communication, you have public speakers that get up and give great oratory presentations. Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address comes to mind. Short, concise, poetic, memorable. Words can be art. People develop poetry all the time. Some of it's pretty bad. But over time and effort and that desire to be better, they take courses, they read other poetry, they practice, they mimic, and they come up with their own style. Same thing with public speaking. When you first start out, you don't have any skills, and we're here to help you develop your skills. We help you develop your art form. You may want to be a stand-up comic. You may want to sell your book. You may want to encourage others. You may want to be an inspirational or a motivational speaker. These are all fine. You may just want to feel more comfortable communicating with your spouse. Toastmasters gives you an opportunity not only to learn how to speak better, but how to listen better. That's why our evaluations are so important. When you can effectively evaluate what someone's saying, you're carefully listening to every word and trying to understand what it is that they're trying to communicate. This provides more leadership skills than you could possibly imagine, because now you've heard everything the person has to say. You're actively listening, and you can help provide them guidance, and it also helps you lead your organization, your club, in ways that you never thought of before, because you know so much more because you're actively listening, participating. When we start out with our competent communication program, which is 10 projects that get progressively harder, basing the next project on what you learned in the first projects. There are also 10 projects in the leadership manual that do the same thing. They start you out very easy, and you become more and more competent at leading organizations, leading meetings. These are both art forms. You do them at your pace, on your schedule, at your time. And in the process, you develop what is important for you.
Excellent. So this is valuable in any walk of life, really.
Yes?
Any walk of life. Communication's imperative. Yes, Scott.
One thing I wanted to add, it isn't just being a speaker, stand-up comic or whatever. Say you go for an interview.
Absolutely.
We have what we call table topics. You're given a question, you have 1 to 2 minutes to respond. That's an interview. That's a job interview. How do you present yourself to your potential boss? You really want to be able to present confidence and speak well in those 2 minutes. That's what we work on as well.
Good point. And that's also spur of the moment.
Absolutely.
How to conduct yourself well and speak articulately, which I'm not doing my best job today. In 1 to 2 minutes, impromptu. So if you're at an interview or you're asked to stand up and give a toast at a dinner, that you're more prepared than you would be if you hadn't ventured into Toastmasters.
The number of members that we have that step up and say, my skills really paid off because I just got the job of my dreams in my life, and I owe it all to being able to do table topics and spur of the moment and extemporaneous speaking.
Amazing, amazing. Well, we have just a couple minutes left, so we are going to share with the audience now a clip of you, Daniel, speaking for approximately 1 minute. So we will end on this clip and share with the audience why you joined Toastmasters, why you were actually born because of Toastmasters.
This is true.
All right. Clip number 3, please.
Hello, I'm Daniel Flood. I'm a second-generation Toastmaster. The reason this is important is that because my father was in Toastmasters in the 1950s, he learned valuable skills necessary for him to be able to talk to everyone from the city planner and the mayor all the way up to the governor and his congressman. This allowed him to get politically appointed to the job that he wanted. In the process, that gave them financial security. And after about 6 months of having the job, he went to my mother and said, I love our 2 daughters, but I sure would like to have another kid, maybe even a son. She said, I'll make you one. And thus I was born. So if you have skills that you could sharpen to improve your financial position and maybe even further your family, Toastmasters is the ticket.
Beautiful. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on Passion today and sharing your passion for Toastmasters and making the world a better place.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks so much for joining us. See you soon.